If you're a real estate investor, you have probably recognized that one of the biggest expenses you have potentially on your property is turnover. When a tenant moves out of a property, you're going to have vacancy, you've got to spend some money to fix it back up, and you got to put a new tenant into the property. Well, the ideal for any real estate investor is to put a long-term tenant in the property who's going to pay their rent on time and stay a long time. Well, is it possible? Is it possible to have a tenant stay in a property for 20, 25, 30 years? Well, absolutely. It is. I'm Marc Cunningham at Grace Management. We've had a handful of tenants, believe it or not, that have been in some of our properties for over 30 years. We've had quite a few, 20 plus years. So yes, it is possible. Now, life happens. Sometimes people have to move. But let me share with you 4 proactive things that you as a real estate investor can do to hopefully increase the amount of time that a quality tenant wants to rent from you rather than moving somewhere else. Number 1, and this may surprise you, is the type of property. We have never had a 20-year tenant rent a condo or a townhome. We have had tenants rent single-family homes for multiple decades. And it kind of makes sense because most of the people that rent condos or townhomes are in a different phase of life and they're planning on moving out at some time. Because when you get into a single-family home, it's typically a family with kids and pets and they don't want to move. What we find on average is the length of tenancy in a single-family home, on average, is 2 times the amount, twice as long as the length of tenancy from someone in a condo or a townhome. That means for every 1 year someone's in a condo or townhome, they're going to be 2 years in a single-family home. If you're an investor, just from that point alone, that's why we recommend single-family homes as an investment option, because your tenant is more likely to stay for a much longer time period. Number 2, timely repairs. National surveys show year after year after year that the number 1 reason that good tenants give for moving when their lease is up is poor quality maintenance, bad repairs. It takes too long to fix. It's not returned phone calls. The quality of the repair is bad. If you're a landlord, if you're a real estate investor and something breaks in your tenant's property, you need to fix it, and you need to fix it quickly, not just for the preservation of the property and the safety of the tenant, but to keep the tenant happy. And that's an important aspect of that tenant remaining in place for a long period of time. Number 3, you're probably saying, well, Mark, I bet those tenants that you've had there for 30 years, you probably never increased their rent. That's why they didn't leave, right? Well, no, we did. And you can and you should. We believe in fair rent increases. You want to keep up with the market. You certainly can't, as a real estate investor, place a tenant and not increase their rents for 10, 20, 30 years. That wouldn't do anybody any good. So we do have rent increases, but they need to be explained, and they need to be legitimate, and they need to be fair for the tenant and all parties involved. And number 4, sounds a little bit silly, but simply respectful treatment. We reject the idea that the tenant-landlord relationship has to be difficult. We believe that a well-placed tenant in a quality property with a good real estate investor is a true win-win for everybody. The tenant gets a housing, they get taken care of, they get a property at a fair price that's safe and clean and works. The landlord gets rent on a regular basis. It truly is win that way. But landlords and property managers and real estate investors need to ensure that they're treating their tenants respectfully, that when a difficult situation arises for the tenant, that they're being graceful. For the tenants we've had that have been in our properties for 30 plus years, there have been some months where they had some difficulty paying their rent, and we worked with them in those situations. Why? Well, we want to be graceful and respectful to their situation. But what we've found over 40 plus years in business, that if you have the right type of property, if you do repairs quickly and promptly, if you have fair rent increases, and if you treat your tenants with respect, that they're very likely to stay for a long period of time. If you're a quality tenant and you're looking to live in a property for a long period of time, we'd love to talk to you. Jump on our website, check out the vacancies we have there at rentgrace.com. If you're a real estate investor and you need help managing your rental property, we are happy to be a resource to you as well. I wish you success.